Hello everybody, Caden here today with another episode of Wildlife Park, and today we're building a red kangaroo exhibit, or kangaroo exhibit, I don't know which one it is, it's a kangaroo of some sort. But anyway, yeah. As you can see, we're starting off with a bit of like an outline of the exhibit, and I think that's going to be our shelter, I think. Yeah, that's our animal shelter. It's kind of like a concrete bunker in all honesty. But anyway, we're building the fence now, and I went through a couple design phases with this, but I decided the main log type thing was going to be acacia for this project because I felt like it had a bit more of an outback feel than spruce or oak wood, really. You know, I don't know, it just looks a bit more deserty to me. Anyway, oh, and right over here, so when I was starting this exhibit off, I hadn't quite figured out exactly what I was gonna do, but in the end, I've kind of gone for this like stone brick wall to kind of make a viewing area. In hindsight, I would have liked I should really have angled the viewing area in at least one place and probably made the exhibit a bit bigger, but I can always change that in the future. Anyway, I want to mention a few things that have changed since last episode. First off being, there's no intro, obviously. The intro is the time lapse, and I'm doing a voiceover, kind of like playing at zoo, so that's different. And number two, I think after I changed out the leaves, or not the leaves, the shader pack, leaves actually have showed up in the render this time, which is awesome. Also, somewhere around the 10-minute mark, this time lapse is going to jump. I'm just gonna warn you guys about that now. Basically, I had to like cut the time lapse in two, and I didn't quite sync it up properly, but this is only the second time lapse I've ever made, so I feel like that's kind of forgivable. Anyway, you can see I'm kind of messing around with the fence here. The final design I'm gonna end up going with, and you'll see this in a few minutes, or a few seconds probably, is acacia wood logs for the supports, spruce wood for the base, or spruce slab for the base, and then I think it's ZAWA wire mesh for the actual fencing material. I'm kind of messing around over here what I wanted to do with it. One thing I will mention right now is you're gonna, this like back wall that I'm currently working on, you're gonna see me destroy that a couple times as I kind of figure out what it is I wanted to do with it and kind of get things rolling. Anyway, this episode has taken, I think it took 50 minutes to record this, and then like rendering camera paths and getting the camera path set up took like 2 hours, and then editing and everything so far has already taken like an extra hour and a half. Like, woo guys. So yeah, there's definitely only ever gonna be one of these a week. I do not have the time to make more than one. But anyway, that aside, we're now coming over to the viewing platform. I decided to switch out the stone bricks for concrete because I felt like since we're making the shelter out of concrete, it kind of fit a bit more color palette wise. I just decided to go with the light gray concrete instead of, I think, dark gray concrete like I did last episode with the pangolins. And here you can see me messing around with the fences again. But I'm going to revert this in a few minutes, or a few seconds, I guess. Anyway, that was a pretty abrupt cut. I didn't realize it looked like that. Anyway, I have to say, overall, I'm pretty happy with how this exhibit ended up looking. At first I wasn't too confident it was going to look good, but by the end I think it really comes together quite well. The terrain work was by far the most fun, which is kind of funny, I think, because usually terrain work is stuff I don't always have the greatest fun doing with these kind of builds, but it was a lot of fun doing it. It really was. I will say the camera pathing this episode is a lot less complex than it was last episode, but I think that kind of works to the benefit of the video. I mean, you guys still see everything I did pretty much, and anything I miss will be shown when we come back at the end of the episode to give you guys a bit more of a tour of the enclosure. But anyway, you can see here I did the pathway a bit differently this time. So the elevated platform, the floor itself is a slab, I believe. It's a half slab of spruce, which kind of gave this interesting look. And I tested out a bunch of different like railings and stuff. This stone slab one I'm trying out right now. I didn't like it in the end just because you couldn't really see over it too much. It was like too thick of a like block, and you can see I'm getting rid of it there. And then I tried a different thing out. It worked a bit better. Color palette didn't quite work. So then I switched it out to the similar block we used for the pangolin roofing, and that worked a bit better, but I even changed that out later for glass because you'll see I really like the thing I did for it. I think it looks really cool. But anyway, we're setting up the platform here, and I don't know, I was pretty happy with, again, I'm really happy with how this whole like viewing platform turned out. It did seem kind of weird to me, and I still think it's kind of weird that I did this, but like the back ones are acacia logs and the front supports are stone or cobblestone walls which is a bit weird, but I mean, I think it still comes together quite well in the end. It's just one of those things where it's kind of like, whenever you're like just starting a project and it's not finished yet and it hasn't quite like all tied together, things look really weird sometimes, and it kind of makes me question, you know, like what I'm doing with the exhibit. But yeah. And yeah, okay, so here you can see. So I took all that out, I flipped the stairs around, you can see, and I throw another stone brick for a support? I think so. Yeah, I do. And then I put glass on this, and honestly, I love the effect it gave. I love doing stuff like this with slabs and stairs because you get such interesting like block combinations you wouldn't normally get, and it gives it a very different kind of look. And I like how it ended up turning out. Like I said, I think even looking here, you can definitely tell if to the left and right, I should definitely expand the fence out a bit more. I think. I think I definitely needed to curve the walkway at one point, but that's all stuff I can do in the future off camera to kind of finish the zoo off a bit more. Anyway, as for the roofing for the covered walkway, it's the same kind of roofing I always do for these kind of projects. You guys have seen me build this a billion times if you've seen my Dino series or even previous Wildlife Park series. For the support ribbing, I'm using the same stuff we used for the pangolin roof. I believe it's like black tile roofing or something like that, black shingles, I think. And then I go with my typical roofing block, which is dark oak wood, because honestly, I think it looks the best for that kind of stuff. It definitely just has that kind of like roof kind of look in my eyes for some reason. Now I'm gonna try out putting glass here, and that's why I've kind of paused for a second. It's just to kind of find a nice looking glass, because I remember I had some old, like viewing areas like this that had glass in them, and I decided it didn't really look that good, so I got rid of it and just decided to go with a solid roof, which I think ended up looking better in the long run. I definitely think it was a good decision to do that. Other than that though, I think the camera path's moving a bit earlier than I wanted it to, but we're gonna go work on the shelter next, which, I mean, to be honest, there's not much special with it. Like last time, the shelter we did, you know, it kind of had its own little like flair to it. This one, it's very much just a traditional standard concrete bunker sort of animal house, like you'd see in most zoos. I think just about every big animal in a zoo has a shelter like this. You know, it's a pretty typical thing. Anyway, so we went with gray concrete, as like I said earlier. I think it did end up looking pretty good. Once I threw some windows in, it looked a lot better because once I get like the roof on and stuff, it got super dark in there. But throwing windows in made it look a bit more bright, less kind of like a packing shed or something, or a meat warehouse, and more like, you know, it was a place where an animal would live. It got dark. Anyway. I didn't really bother doing the roof on this much because it's something you're not really gonna see, and it just kind of needed to have a roof, so I made one. I mean, if I build like some tower type thing later and you can see the top of the kangaroo shelter, I'll probably switch it out for like gravel or something, we'll see. But yeah, I just threw down a basic floor of gray stone slabs, and I think that was about it. I think I threw some hay in there later. I haven't quite thrown the windows in yet, which is why the inside is so dark. I think I'm gonna do that just a second. Yeah, so you'll see, you can't really see from this camera angle, but I'll go back in and show you guys that later when we're touring the actual enclosure. I think now is about when it cuts. But basically, obviously this is kangaroos. I didn't want to do just grass. Oh, I just realized what's going on right now. So you'll see this, I was trying to get a picture for a kangaroo, like a little painting, because the ZAWA mod has them. It took way too long, and I'm not sure why I did that now instead of just, you know, between finishing the exhibit and recording the outro type thing. But, you know, whatever. I mean, this gives you a good view of the exhibit. I still quite like it. I think it's a rather nice looking build. Quite happy with it. I like it a lot. I really do. Anyway, so I think now I'm getting my like ground blocks together and some, what would it be? Oh, but the world edit stuff, so I can get rid of all the grass. I decided to go for a very much outback kind of thing, or at least what I felt would look kind of like an outback kind of thing. Let's see. What is it? It's like a mixture. Well, you guys will see. I'll explain it once it gets on camera, because I feel like it's harder to explain before you guys kind of see what I start doing with it. Because once you see it, it makes a bit more sense. Anyway, yeah. So we start off with some I think coarse dirt and orange sand. And is this about where it cuts? I think it is. Yeah, okay. So sorry about the cut there. Again, I messed up with the audio footage, just the footage. Again, this I don't know if I said this, but this is like the second time I've used the replay mod to actually make a replay, so just kind of relearning. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. I was like, why was I destroying that? I forgot. I decided to put in a mesa background because I thought that would look cool. And it was something people were telling me to do with my Megalania enclosure and dinosaurs. For a second, I thought the replay mod just messed up there, but no, it's good. Okay. But as for the flooring, I should really explain that. It's a mixture right now of orange sand, or red sand, my bad. Red sand, coarse dirt, and brown concrete powder, I believe. And later on, you'll see me mix in some gravel, some red sandstone, some orange terracotta, and I think that's about it. But it gives this really interesting kind of mottled, there's a lot of texture variation in it, and I really liked that in the end. As you can see, I ended up tearing out a second part of the fence to put the, the mesa wall in. I really like how that ended up looking. I think it's kind of cool, and I'm surprised it's tall enough, that the kangaroos can't jump over it. I was really afraid of that happening, because I'm usually afraid of that whenever I make exhibits like this. And I just realized you can't really see it from up here. I think towards the end of the time lapse, when I kind of go back down again to give you guys a better view, you get a better view of just how the terrain looks. And obviously, when you see the end of the episode, you'll get a good idea of that too. But I really like the texture variation in this. I think it looks good. I think it looks a bit better than the pangolin exhibit did for its texture stuff, but this is because I was trying out new techniques and new ways of kind of blotting out texture and differentiating like the blocks I was using. It was a bit more organized this time, and I think that really kind of helped. I also had better block choice, I think, so that's cool. It's always fun to do builds like this and just try and push your creativity with how you do terrain, because you can always get better at terrain. You can always try new things, see how it works, kind of try stuff out. It's a lot of fun. It really is. But yeah, I'm just kind of filling in things. I kind of did it for the most part by just filling in blocks of like coarse dirt and then a bit of brown concrete powder along the dirt, and then after that I filled in any gaps with orange sand. And I don't know, it kind of gave this interesting little look to it. The original idea was to kind of have the coarse dirt kind of be wherever, the kangaroos would really be hanging around. Kind of like when I do coarse dirt pathways and exhibits for animals that live in like grassy exhibits. It didn't really quite turn out that way, but I think it still ended up having a really good look to it. I was quite happy with the finished product. I realized this exhibit was very flat, so I was trying to add a bit more like height variation, and I ended up deciding against doing lots of that and decided to just go with these red sandstone rocks, which I think also kind of very much give it that Australia kind of look, kind of like the Uluru kind of build. Because I think that's like the massive red rock in Australia, I think, right? I don't know. I'm not sure I remembered that correctly. Someone will correct me in the comments, I'm sure. And yeah, I'm just throwing in some more like concrete powder. I think here I'm throwing in the red sandstone to kind of break up the sand itself. And again, later in the video, you'll see how that looks. It definitely breaks up the texture a bit more. It makes it look a lot nicer. Now I'm throwing in some dark brown concrete to kind of, I don't know. I didn't really throw much of it in. I think it looks a bit better once I've got the foliage in and stuff. It kind of saturates it a bit more, spreads it into the rest of the environment. I tried to make a water trough over here. I decided against that because it just didn't really look good. But yeah, and so then I put the water thing in there, and here you can see me just throwing in some terracotta into the sand. And I think it looks pretty good. Again, you can't really see it from this height. I probably should have put the camera a bit lower while I was doing this. But overall, I'm quite happy with it. I think this whole terrain thing turned out really, really well. I think I'm getting acacia trees. Yeah, I'm getting some plants now. I probably should switch the biome for this area out so that way it's kind of, a bit more deserty so the acacia leaves aren't quite so bright. I also realized probably, since I have BiomesOPlenty, there's probably a BiomesOPlenty tree that would have worked a bit better, but I decided just to go with this because I thought it looked cool. Throw some hay in, lots of little dead bushes. It's all the same plants we put in, basically. All the ground cover is the same stuff we put in the pangolin exhibit, so very similar to that one. But I figured it worked really well. It looked nice in that one, so I figured it would look good here. And I didn't really want lots of tall grasses and stuff that were like bright green, because I felt like that would look really, really weird. But anyway, yeah, you can see me there just kind of checking it out, making sure it looks good. I think I put some feeders in real quick and then get the kangaroos. Not sure. But yeah, there's not much more to the time lapse here. That's pretty much it. But I'm really happy with this exhibit. I think it looked overall looked really, really good. Definitely has a very different feel than a lot of stuff I do, and I like that. I like that about this. But yeah, I think that's about it. So in a few seconds, you guys are gonna hear me talking about it, showing it to you guys in close detail, and yeah, so I'll let myself take over. All right, guys, so the time lapse is done now, and as is tradition with the old wildlife park, now this new one, we're gonna do obviously just a quick tour of the exhibit with the shaders on to give you guys a good idea of what it looks like in person. And I have to say, this exhibit took a lot longer than I was expecting it to, and it didn't quite turn out how I was expecting it to, but that's not a bad thing. I think I quite like the direction it took. So obviously we have this big like covered pavilion type thing. I've built many of these before in various zoos and dinosaur parks, so you guys are familiar with this whole thing. I did do it slightly differently this time, and it's something I really like, where I put stairs here. Like, this is all slabs, then we have a stair, and then we have like this glass. And I don't know, it's an interesting height, and it's an interesting look, and I quite like it a lot. Also, I don't know if they can get out. I don't think they can. Yeah, I don't think they can get out over the top. I don't think they can jump high enough. But that's cool. Anyway, here are our here's our whole kangaroo exhibit. I really like it. I think, in all honesty, the floor is my favorite part. Just cause, in all honesty, and I think shaders actually ties it together a lot more with how the lighting works. Cause I didn't build this with shaders, by the way, guys. I mean, if in the time lapse, it'll probably be shaders. But when I was building this, I didn't have shaders on. So I was thinking, cause it kind of helps to build without shaders. But anyway, we have a mixture here, and I'm sure I mentioned this in the time lapse, like concrete powder, concrete, terracotta, red sandstone, red sand, coarse dirt, and gravel. And it's all kind of mixed together, and I think actually adding in the terracotta and the red sandstone definitely helped with the massive orange blobs, because I mean, you can see here, like, this is what it looks like without it, but then like over here we have all this color modulation, and it just definitely brings the exhibit to life a bit more. We have all these dead grasses and stuff. I know this shelter is really simple, but I actually really like it. It feels like something I would see for a kangaroo exhibit, honestly. And yes, I probably spawned too many of them in, like I did with the pangolins, but I don't know, they look really cool and I like them a lot. But yeah, okay, so I have one thing to mention real quick, and that is actually about the ZAWA mod itself, and a problem I'm having. So maybe you guys can help me fix the problem, I'm not sure. But I don't actually have the most recent version of the mod, which is why I don't have certain blocks that I would have used that I know are in the current version of the mod. I don't have most of the animals that have been added, or any of them really. I don't have lots of stuff. And that's because of a certain mob called the Poacher, which, I kid you not, spawns everywhere, inside every single exhibit I've made, inside like hundreds of them on this like grass platform. Because I did actually update the mod, but then I reverted back to an old version because of that. So if you guys have any idea on how I can get rid of that, or if I can't and I just have to deal with it, that'd be kind of unfortunate. But that's the main reason why we don't have the update. Anyway, I do like that we've kind of done two desert animals. I've been experimenting with some stuff over here, namely this block, which is I think it's like a stone frieze, which is from like Dawn of Time, I think. But our pangolin exhibit looks pretty cool. We got a very similar kind of vibe. Oh, I didn't use this block, but I think that's okay. I mean, our exhibit here definitely has a very different feel, but while still feeling very similar. I don't know, I quite like it a lot. I do quite enjoy how this looks. I think it's kind of awesome. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you've all enjoyed. Let me know what animal you'd like to see in the next episode. Would you like to see another desert animal, and a different kind of animal? Let me know. You know what, maybe if I can remember, I'll try and put like a poll in the eye of the video, and you guys can vote for the next animal. But anyway, thank you again for watching. Hope you've all enjoyed, and until next time, guys, see ya.